Tonight, Cyclone Alfred's savage assault on the southeast. We are live from the strike zone with breaking news on new flood modelling putting hundreds more homes in the path of a monster. Ghost jet ski, the furious search for a rider off Duranbah after an EPIRB was activated in Swell, which is swallowing beaches. Closed for the cyclone, the southeast shuts down. The last flight out, fuel tankers grounded as 4.5 million people strap themselves in. It's not too late. Sensible things you can do right now to protect your home from harm and your children from trauma. Also tonight, a gunfight in the middle of the Gold Coast. Innocent people hurt before police opened fire on a carjacker. And the star finally falls. The Queen's Wharf Casino sold off to save the gambling giant. And the changing of the guard. Shane Webke's exclusive interview with the Broncos' new number 8, Paddy Carrigan.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Max Futcher and Katrina Blowers.
Good evening. Cyclone Alfred is slowly edging towards the coast, but its exact track remains unpredictable. But the closer it gets, the more wild the weather, with conditions only expected to deteriorate. We have a team of reporters standing by in key locations tonight as the impacts of Alfred begin to be felt. Marlena Watt begins our coverage.
The early signs of Alfred. On the Gold Coast, some are trying to test the waters and it isn't ending well.
What is this idiot doing? Get your dog out of the cyclone.
The 4 key challenges of this weather event: waves, wind, rainfall and flooding.
And nearly all 4 are on display. Streets and beaches are buried in foam. Dangerous surf is pounding the coast. Rain also starting to settle in, setting the stage for flash flooding.
If the system crosses the coast, particularly on a high tide, there is the real risk of inundation in those storm tide areas.
Already Alfred is being felt. A concrete facade ripped from the 16th floor of a Surfers Paradise high-rise.
It was just a boom, a massive, massive boom. I didn't know what it was at first.
What'd you see?
Just probably about 10 courses. The outer structure of the brickwork up on the roof there is just, the whole panel has just come down and just wiped out the entire side there.
Trees and power lines are also being toppled.
The tree has come down all over my everything. Holy shit.
We are starting to see the first of the power outages following some gale force winds.
No power from first thing this morning. Luckily we've got water bottles and all that filled up and what have you.
Debbie is looking after her elderly parents at Broadbeach Waters.
Just like batten down, I've got to go home Sunday, or maybe I won't be.
The barbecue ready for a workout as Energex insists power isn't being turned off in preparation for the storm.
It's just completely false. It's fake news. We're dealing with it. We don't turn off power in these sort of outages. Mother Nature does enough of that for me.
It's the wind, which is only set to intensify.
Destructive wind gusts up to 150 kilometres per hour as Alfred approaches the coast.
Forcing petrol tankers off our roads, deliveries to service stations have stopped.
Because of the risk of spark and ignition risk and other damage occurring while we're trying to transfer fuel at high speed in high winds.
As the system creeps closer, cities are shutting down. Supermarkets across the southeast are beginning to close.
We're from Townsville and we're just surprised everything's closed. Our shops and that don't close down till the last minute.
Schools remain shut. And along with the Gold Coast, Ballina and Coffs Harbour, the majority of planes at Brisbane Airport are now grounded. It was a mad dash through the terminal today for passengers desperate to reach final flights.
Gone down to Melbourne to the wave pool because the waves are pretty crazy out here.
John O'Hammond from Emerald was meant to fly home tomorrow. He brought his trip forward by 24 hours, but it was still too late.
My flight's been cancelled, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do. The message said that came through, they said that we're trying to find you a new flight and we'll be in touch soon.
Now stranded in Brisbane, like Chad Campbell and his workmates who flew in from Moranbah only to land and find out their connecting flight to Newcastle was scrapped.
They reckon we won't fly till Saturday now, so just going to try and find somewhere to stay.
Likely now heading to high-rise hotels, which are bracing to face the worst of the wind.
We're at Luminaire here in Newstead, central Brisbane. We've been clearing all the residents' balconies.
Taping windows too. On the 27th floor of this apartment building in Newstead, the winds are already picking up here, and they spent half a day trying to secure all of these trees.
These are tough times, but Australians are tough people.
Like Barbara from Brighton, any other day you'd be envious of her waterfront views, not now.
I've been through a number of disasters, including the Newcastle earthquake in '89, and I really don't want to be in any more.
Right across from the water, she's prepared for a storm surge. Like many, the sandbags are out, windows boarded up.
I'm praying, and all my friends are praying our hearts out that we don't have to go through any more tragedy.
We're anticipating billions of dollars of damage.
Albert isn't letting Alfred steal his thunder, celebrating his 61st birthday by the water at Wynnum this afternoon.
Perfect day, even though we've got a cyclone on the other side there.
Which is tonight, only getting closer.
Well, let's go first to Marlena Wapp at Cleveland. Marlena, you have breaking news showing hundreds more homes could be at risk.
Yeah, that's right, Max. And as the system changes, so too is the flood modelling. But everyone right across the Redlands is being told to prepare. The wind and rain will intensify as Cyclone Alfred approaches the coast. Now, Brisbane City Council has added hundreds of more homes to the flood modelling for a storm surge risk. According to that modelling, the areas most at risk include Brighton, Windsor, Ashgrove, Morningside, Rockley, Coopers Plains, Wynnum West, Sandgate, Katrina, Hemmant, Loder, Tingalpa, Indooroopilly, Albion and Barden. So a long list, a vast area as communities right across the southeast make their final preparations. Max?
And an anxious night for even more people. Thanks for that, Marlena. Let's go to 7 News meteorologist Tony Auden. Tony, flooding is fast becoming the biggest concern.
Yes, Max, we've seen significant changes in that forecast track over the last day. That means slower movement, a later landfall, and probably likely very slow movement and hovering around the coast through Saturday, or through tomorrow rather, then slowly moving on Saturday with rain lingering after that. Of course, that means rain can fall over a longer period of time, and that does increase that risk of flooding. For now, squally showers on the coast. We've seen some decent winds with them, but the biggest blob of rain is offshore near Cyclone Alfred. That is expected to move in very rapidly on the northern New South Wales and Gold Coast area, then continuing on and off as Alfred hovers and then eventually makes landfall through the weekend and even afterwards as we get what we call converging wind bands in behind, likely into Saturday. Hopefully by Sunday night that heaviest rain should ease. In terms of forecast totals, hundreds of millimetres. The Bureau is mentioning up to 800 millimetres, but we could see isolated higher totals. This is just one forecast scenario. We could see that heavy rain as far north as Brisbane, maybe the Sunshine Coast, depending on exactly where Alfred does go in coming days. And we have a flood watch to reflect that all the way up to the Mary River on the Sunshine Coast, down south, with a significant risk in northern New South Wales too. Max, there's a lot to play out, and that flooding will be a nasty sting in the tail for Cyclone Alfred.
Important real-time information we all need at the moment. Thanks for that, Tony. Let's go to Amanda Abate, who's here on the Gold Coast. Amanda, a rescue operation is underway after a ghost jet ski was sighted in this ferocious swell.
That's right, Max. In conditions that nobody should be out in, but somehow this lone jet ski was spotted floating near the mouth of the Tweed River, being pummeled by the wild waves. A trailer left abandoned is sparking a mystery now. Who does it belong to? Nobody has been reported missing as yet, which is good news, but this sparked a major search involving the rescue helicopter. Police, paramedics have been on standby, tying up resources amid a full-scale emergency here on the Gold Coast and New South Wales border, and at a time when everyone is being told to take shelter. Despite the obvious dangers, some on the Gold Coast are taking chances up and down the coast, daring the pounding surf. Frolicking in sea foam. It looks like a lot of fun, but conditions right now aren't to be underestimated. Anything not tied down is in danger of being swept out to sea. This industrial bin carried away from the Currumbin Surf Club. Jet skis have been towing surfers into the big waves at Snapper Rocks. But this afternoon, the police and the Westpac rescue helicopter were called out to reports of one sighted off Duranbah. Even though beaches the length of the coast are closed, swimmers tried their luck and quickly had second thoughts.
Oh, it's pretty unsafe out there. I wouldn't recommend, but
Yeah. Holidaymakers at Surfers Paradise have been putting a brave face on.
It's beautiful out there, man. Look at it.
It ruined the holiday.
It's okay here at the moment, but I won't be here tomorrow at this time, I don't think.
From the top of Queensland's tallest tower, you can see the impact, feel the power. Gale force winds rattling the beams of Q1, 77 stories up. The winds right now are about 60, 70 kilometres an hour. It's already hard to walk in. It's scary to think tomorrow it could be twice as powerful. Right along the coast, beaches are being carved into sand cliffs and things are only going to get worse. Yesterday, a wave rider boy measured a new record maximum wave height off the Gold Coast of 12.3 metres.
Oh my God!
The big fear, Alfred could arrive as the tide peaks in the early hours of Saturday morning.
If the system crosses at exactly high tide, there is the risk of seeing storm surges up to 1.5 metres, particularly around the Redlands Bay area and the Gold Coast.
The Gold Coast City Council flood surge map shows large areas along the beachfront and on the canals in danger.
Everybody in this area here has already relocated.
The length of the coast and well into northern New South Wales, businesses are floodproofing and sandbagging. At Fingal Head, residents are being asked to evacuate by 9 o'clock tonight. For now, Queenslanders seem to be taking it in their stride.
Alfred is here, I think.
From one business owner, a timely message for everyone. Amanda Abate, 7 News.
Now to Anna McGraw in Brisbane City. Anna, the CBD was like COVID all over again.
And Max, it's really hard to believe that it's 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. Queen Street Mall would usually be packed with people either heading out for dinner and drinks or heading home from work, but it's quite literally the opposite. There is nobody here this evening. I'll just show you all of the shops, they are closed. The Winter Garden, the roller doors are down. This is where all of the upmarket stores are. There is no one here. And even some of the stores, the front doors, they're lined with sandbags. They are not taking any chances when it comes to Cyclone Alfred. And it's likely that this will stay this way for at least a few days until the system does make landfall. It's a very weird feeling, a very weird mood here this evening. Like you say, the last time that we saw this, one of the only times we've ever seen the city completely shut down was during the pandemic. But of course, it is a good sign this time because people have heeded the warnings. They're at home and they're waiting to see what Alfred could bring. Empty, eerie. Brisbane today, anything but bustling.
It's certainly bizarre, all the shops being shut. It's just not what you expect.
No queues at Queen Street Mall this morning. Only locals stretching their legs before they bunker down.
Got to get out and walk while it's still safe to walk, and then I think we'll be sort of trapped in.
We can't go anywhere in our hire car, so pretty much cabin fever.
Little signs of early morning exercise by the river.
Have you seen many people out and about?
Not many, probably less than 10.
Even after sunrise, activity on the streets was scarce. With public transport paused, this busway was bare. Cars far fewer along the usually busy Coronation Drive, the southeast on standby for Alfred's arrival.
As the system continues to move in, my message to Queenslanders is if you don't have to be on the road, the best place is at home.
Office workers have heeded that warning.
Just working from home at the moment. You can see how windy it is outside already.
With residents staying close to home, there was more activity in the suburbs while the skies were still blue.
And that's why we're out here enjoying the sun while we can. You know, we've got our 10 litres of water and we've got the batteries and we've got the charging the phones.
In the heart of the city, though, tools were down at big builds. Holiday plans also on hold.
We came back to do all the things we didn't get around to doing, and they're all shut down.
The Bowsers at BP Milton were off limits today, as was a nearby McDonald's. Parking not a problem in Southbank. No customers at Nando's, only sandbags outside the doors.
Just killing some time until, it gets worse. It's a bit weird. Very quiet, there's barely anyone out there.
We're just staying in a home
and pray to the God like everything to be settled very soon.
Goma, a ghost town. Coles closed too. Shopping hubs across Brisbane shut down. Some have likened the emptiness of the city to COVID lockdowns in 2020. It'll be another few days before these shops and restaurants come back to life in the CBD. Businesses are bracing in Rosalie, protections in place, but some are keeping their doors open for now.
There's a lot of people now worried they don't have enough food to get through, as long as they thought. The plan will be to open till midday or to see how the wind and the rain go in the morning. We might shut sooner.
As the countdown continues to a wet and windy weather spectacle. Anna McGraw, 7 News.
Ned Baum is at a sandbag station at Murray. Ned, residents have 2 more hours to fill up.
Yeah, that's right, Max. Not much longer here at Murray. We actually recently got confirmation from Brisbane City Council saying that all council sandbag sites will close at 8 o'clock tonight. They will not reopen tomorrow just due to the uncertainty around the weather. But as you can see, that hasn't stopped people from coming down. We can see everyone putting in that work, getting these extra bags. Many of these people, they're not actually taking the bags with them. They are just loading them up here so that other people can come and take them. So this has been a massive community effort throughout the day. Here in Murray, it's probably been the best run sandbagging place in the city. Now, one thing that is worth noting that while these sandbagging areas will shut at 8 o'clock, that's only manned by council. The council are planning on leaving the bags, leaving whatever zip ties remain. And if you do feel like you need some extra ones, you can come down, just bring your own shovel, because this pile of sand will likely remain long past 8 o'clock.
All right, thanks, Ned. So, Katrina, Alfred might have slowed his progress, which has given the southeast another day to prepare, but the threat has only been delayed. I'll be back shortly with more from the Gold Coast.
All right, Max, see you then. The impact of Cyclone Alfred is expected to be felt right across Queensland and the nation. Fruit and vegetable prices are tipped to soar, with significant disruptions to supply chains.
Supermarkets across southeast Queensland have been stripped bare. Today, many closed early. Tonight, others are offering their final hours of trade.
I'd say probably 50, 60 stores that at some point are going to be impacted.
Produce is scarce even after extra deliveries of essential supplies.
We're trying to keep water and produce available. Normally you place an order on a Wednesday and get it delivered on a Thursday. Right now, it's being delivered in 4 hours.
It's an anxious wait for farmers.
We've been tying irrigators down, cleaning drains, but if we start having some floods and some serious water flow, then we'll lose a bit of crop.
Food supplies are expected to be hit across the country. Major roads around Brisbane and the Gold Coast are eerily quiet. More are expected to close.
They're organising convoys up to 300 trucks at a time to be able to get through the infrastructure, ensure that there is some supply of those fruit and vegetables that are so important for us all around Australia.
We'll see prices increasing, but it's important to remember that the effect won't just be over the next few days or weeks, it'll be over coming months.
Around $255 million in agricultural production was lost when floods hit the Lockyer Valley west of Brisbane in 2022. Sent prices of vegetables, including sweet potatoes, zucchinis and celery, soaring. Lettuce hit $12 a head. Australia Post is pausing deliveries, pickups and processing in southeast Queensland and northern New South Wales, putting safety first as the wait continues. Karina Carvalho, 7 News.
Anthony Albanese may have wanted to call an election on his own terms, but Cyclone Alfred may remove that choice. As millions brace for the storm, it's also building a cloud over the vote, which is now just weeks away.
Canberra's Emergency Management Centre and, for the meantime, the Prime Minister's office.
I intend operating out of here for coming days.
Intent on taking a leading role, keeping an eye on the preparations and response as the eye of the cyclone bears down on the coast.
We are there to support you. We have your back.
If the cyclone hits with a ferocity feared, it could also blow apart any plans he had of calling an election on Sunday or Monday for April 12. Something he brushed off today.
I'm focused not on votes, I'm focused on lives.
But this weekend is the last chance Anthony Albanese has of calling an election without having a budget first. If he doesn't, then the March 25 budget is on, and so is a May election.
One thing about campaigns, you don't like things that you don't control, and there's nothing you don't control like a cyclone.
The election shadowboxing ramping back up today. Labor lashing opposition leader Peter Dutton for leaving cyclone preparations in his Brisbane electorate of Dixon on Tuesday to be the star turn at a Liberal fundraiser at the harbourside home of Sydney nightclub baron Justin Hemmes.
I think it's pretty surprising that at the time Peter Dutton's own community was filling sandbags, he was filling Liberal Party money bags.
Mr Dutton's office says he had other official business in Sydney that day too. Anthony Albanese would not want to dive into an election campaign while potentially thousands of people are struggling in the aftermath of a cyclone. Peter Dutton would smash him as heartless and out of touch. For almost 3 years since the last election, the sole power for determining the timing of the next one has resided with Anthony Albanese. Tonight, it is something he now shares with a cyclone called Alfred. Katrina?
Mark Riley there. Wayne Bennett has applauded the NRL's decision to move tomorrow night's game between the Dolphins and Rabbitohs from Suncorp Stadium to Sydney because of Cyclone Alfred. Alissa Apps, it does mean the Dolphins will field a weakened side.
Yeah, Katrina, some things are just bigger than footy, and for Mark Nichols, Kenny Bromwich and Cody Nikorima, they've made the decision not to fly here to Sydney but rather stay behind with their families and help prepare for the cyclone. Now, Cody Nikorima's pregnant partner Bree actually hit out at the NRL for the game going ahead, saying it was unfair to separate families. But when we spoke to Wayne Bennett earlier today, he praised the NRL for going ahead with the game down here in Sydney, and Christian Wolfe, the Dolphins coach, also said that it was simply not possible for the game to be rescheduled in what is already a pretty tight NRL schedule, but he did back his players for staying behind.
They've certainly got my support, they've got the club's full support, and there's no issues there whatsoever.
If we call it off, you find fault with us. If we put it on, you find fault with us. No, they've done the right thing. I think it's a great decision.
I don't think there was another option, to be honest, and I haven't seen anyone come up with a better option.
Now, Katrina, unlike the NRL, the AFL and the A-League, they have a little bit more flexibility in their draws, so they have decided not to go ahead with those games up north.
For the update, Alissa Apps. We'll have more of our cyclone coverage soon, but just ahead, the rest of today's news. A deadly shootout in the middle of a Gold Coast street. Police opened fire on a carjacker. We have developing details. The Star to offload its Brisbane casino, what it means for Queen's Wharf. 2 alleged car thieves hurt in a high-speed crash. And food for thought, medical experts reveal the link between a full breakfast and brain power. Well, to other news now, and stunned drivers have been caught in a dramatic shootout between police and a career criminal on the Gold Coast. An innocent man had a gun held to his head by the carjacker who was shot dead trying to flee.
Sirens blaring and gunfire ringing out across multiple Gold Coast suburbs as a violent, desperate career criminal is shot dead by officers.
5 gunshots. One after the other, bang, 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 and that was it.
I closed my doors after I heard some gunshots, so just in case.
The man killed 31-year-old Travis Brown, wanted for home invasions, serious police assaults and previous firearm offences.
This was a very well-seasoned criminal and he was very motivated to get away from police today.
Police went to arrest him at Brown Street, Labrador, around 9:15, only to have him pull a gun on them. He fled to nearby Clovelly Place, pointing the firearm at a man and then carjacking an 83-year-old woman, hitting her as he sped off.
What I could see was in his hand, and it was just like a normal gun. He pulled her out the car and threw her on the ground, jumped in her car and took off.
By 9:30, police tracked their suspect to Brisbane Road, Arundel, using tyre spikes to stop the stolen car. When he put the gun to another driver's head to try and steal their car, officers opened fire.
Immediate medical assistance was provided, but the man succumbed to his injuries at the scene.
His elderly victim was treated in Gold Coast University Hospital for leg injuries. The police union adamant
The actions of police today were authorised, justified and lawful.
Revealing how much danger Brown placed them in.
I can say with absolute certainty that police were shot at today.
But still stared down their threat till the end. Tonight, we can reveal that Brown was an associate of an outlaw bikie gang. Now, the senior constable that fired the shot that killed him is under investigation. The Ethical Standards Command will assess if the actions he took were justified and appropriate. Meanwhile, officers say that due to the nature of the incident, being on such a busy road in front of so many witnesses, it's incredible that nobody else was injured or killed.
Yeah, it definitely is. Sam Payne live there at Broadbeach. Two alleged car thieves wanted from Toowoomba have been injured in a high-speed crash at Highvale this morning. The car, believed to be stolen, hit a tree on Mount Glorious Road around 10 a.m. A man in his 20s was taken to hospital in a critical condition with chest, head and leg injuries. The passenger sustained minor injuries. Both were taken to the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital. The newly opened Queen's Wharf Casino is reportedly being sold off by Star Entertainment. Our business editor Amelia Brace has details. Amelia, who is taking control?
Well, its existing Hong Kong investors appear to be saving the day, stepping in to take an even larger stake in the company and also taking the Queen's Wharf Casino. It's understood a $50 million deal is imminent that would see Star Entertainment accept a loan from Chow Tai Fook Enterprises and Far East Consortium. In exchange, the pair, who are already joint investors in the Queen's Wharf precinct, would take control of the Brisbane-based casino. As for Star, this $50 million loan should be enough for the company to avoid collapse and voluntary administration, which was imminent. Star CEO Steve McCann is still trying to secure a long-term refinancing deal for the broader casino group, but this deal will save 8,000 jobs at least for now. It is an embarrassing blow for the company, though. Queen's Wharf was the jewel in the crown of its crumbling empire, and it was pretty much brand new. A glitzy $3.8 billion precinct that only opened its doors in August. Star is by no means out of trouble. Its shares are still suspended and will remain so until the company reports its mid-year results to the ASX. They are now nearly a week overdue.
All right, what a rollercoaster. Amelia Brace there. Donald Trump has issued a fierce warning to Hamas to release all remaining Israeli hostages or there will be hell to pay in a social media post this morning. Meanwhile, the White House revealed it has been secretly meeting with Hamas officials in recent weeks to negotiate a new deal. It comes as the CIA confirmed America has paused intelligence sharing with Ukraine, a vital resource in the war against Russia. Coming up, terror on a Jetstar flight. A hero passenger tackles an airline imposter armed with a gun. Extraordinary pictures.
And conditions are changing rapidly. Your next Cyclone Alfred update is next. Plus, see the practical ways Queenslanders are preparing their homes. And the surf clubs already feeling Alfred's fury. We have some more breaking news now. A man has been dragged out of cyclonic seas off the Gold Coast. Paramedics were called to Palm Beach just after 5 this afternoon. The man was taken to Gold Coast University Hospital. Police say it's yet another warning. Right now, the sand and sea are dangerous. Well, ferocious seas are pounding 70 kilometres of beaches on the Gold Coast. Let's go to Steve Titmus, who's outside the Southport Surf Club. Steve, it's almost a cliff there.
Oh, look, it's been quite an incredible couple of days here, Max. I can tell you that over here, the beach has been washed away to now it's about a 7-metre drop from the level of the road down to where the beach is now. It's a major problem for the Surf Lifesaving Club that's here because they have no longer got access to the water. What is going to happen over the next few days is that when the cyclone hits, more of this beach will be washed away. There is an A-wall that runs through here which will stop it eroding any further back into the car park. David Mannering, who is a past president of the club. He's been with the club for 40 years, joins me now. David, have you seen anything like this?
Not like this. This has been absolutely incredible. In the 40 years I've been involved in the club, I've never seen a 7 metre drop like this. It is absolutely amazing. It's scary.
What does this mean for the future of the club and for how you can operate in the coming months?
Very hard. Hopefully the council will get their act together and get the beach back in. It's a lot of work for them. They've done it before. We've had 3 metre drops and 4 metre drops, but never a 7 metre drop. This is just amazing how this has happened.
OK, David, fingers crossed that when the cyclone does hit in the next couple of days, that this doesn't completely wash away.
If this washes away back to the A wall, then we're in major trouble, because where's the sand gone? It's gone out to sea, and how do you get it back? You can't get it back. And that's the major problem. OK,
David, thank you very much for your time tonight. Very much appreciated. Of course, the big warning to everybody is to make sure that you don't go near the edges of these beaches in case they collapse further.
Thanks, Steve. And it's not just there. Surf lifesaving clubs from Noosa to the border are amongst the first to feel Cyclone Alfred and could be the hardest hit. The unsung heroes on our sand are taking extraordinary efforts so they can get back on the beach fast. They are our guardians on the sand, but now our surf clubs are under siege. Beachfront clubhouses are under threat. Already, Vikings Currumbin is an island at high tide, while other clubs from Noosa to the border are battening down. Well, I'm here at Nobby's Beach Surf Lifesaving Club, which is right on the sand. Normally a great spot, but not so much today. The volunteers have been down here at the club, tying everything down, packing up and getting ready for the winds and the expected storm surge. The president here is Matt Jedra. Matt, what's your biggest concern?
At this point, it's just the wind, really. We're not expecting what kind of gusts we're going to get, but we're facing south-east, so we're going to cop most of the gusts, absolute beachfront, so that's probably our biggest concern.
And you mentioned to me that if that storm surge comes in or any flooding at all, it's the back of the club that's the biggest concern.
Yeah, it kind of slopes back down towards the road there, so we've sandbagged most of the doors down there and taped up most of the windows.
And Matt, you've sandbagged here. What's down here and what's the greatest concern?
Our biggest concern down here is flooding. This is our admin office, so a lot of IT equipment, computers, all of our gear, stuff like that is all in here. So we do get a lot of local flooding in this area when there's heavy rain.
Matt, obviously the beaches are closed today and tomorrow. What does it look like going forward for patrols?
So at this point in time, patrols are definitely not on Saturday. We're just waiting a word from SLSQ about Sunday, whether we just have to do a surveillance patrol where we just obviously have a presence here just to keep people out of the water.
People are coming down to the beach to check it out. You just got to hope that no one has any crazy ideas about getting in the water.
Yeah, that's right. And, just even being here now, I've seen a couple of people get swept off their feet just in really, really small waves. So just for everyone out there, just stay at home, stay away from the beach, especially if you've got little ones, because it might look okay, but the surf is very, very strong.
A pretty capable team here. Some of them are on standby if they're needed by authorities.
Yeah, most clubs have nominated a few people to be on standby for if authorities need them, usually to do with flood recovery. So most clubs will be prepared and ready to go when called upon.
And what does that look like? Obviously, boats fueled up.
Yeah, IRB's fueled up, crews ready with all the safety gear, radios, all that stuff, and just ready to go when called upon, yeah.
Let's hope they're not. All right.
That's right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, mate.
Max Futcher there. All right, let's go back to Tony Auden now. And Tony, the concern for flooding just keeps getting worse.
Yes, it is, Katrina. Short of the southeast somehow getting a severe cyclone, this is potentially worse, a slow-moving cyclone, and that looks to be the case now. On the latest guidance, we can expect Alfred to get very close to the Gold Coast or Bay Islands around lunchtime tomorrow, stall, turn north for a few hours, then slowly move inland while weakening. The weakening won't help though. That pattern will bring extreme rainfall to large parts of the southeast. If it happens, amongst everything else, this flood risk is fast looking like it will be Alfred's biggest legacy. Katrina, I'll be back soon with the latest.
Thank you, Tony. Well, a terrifying ordeal has played out on the tarmac at Avalon Airport near Geelong, where a young man, armed with a shotgun and knives, boarded a Jetstar flight bound for Sydney. Hero passengers and the captain wrestled the gunman to the ground until police arrived.
A chokehold in the galley. This is the moment a young man with a shotgun is stopped by a passenger and a Jetstar captain.
Need you out there urgently. Just a passenger with a gun.
The remarkable incident happening at Avalon Airport this afternoon. The plane was about to take off to Sydney. 7 News understands he may have climbed an airport fence. Passengers say he told staff he was a maintenance worker.
We just boarded. He came on with 2 bags saying, he needed to do maintenance. That's when the flight crew started to get nervous because there wasn't anything planned. Then the pilot saw the shotgun, then leaped onto him. There was a guy next to us named Barry. He got him in a headlock, and then that's when I started recording.
Daniel was sitting in seat 1B, front row, for a most unnerving takedown.
He was dead silent. His eyes, there was no emotion in his eyes at all. He looked like, I want to say, almost fake. It was so scary, yeah.
You can see the tool belt packed with equipment. It's believed a knife was in there too. No one was hurt, but everyone was thankful for fast-acting crew and that one passenger.
He was a saviour. The guy next to us, Barry, and the pilot saved us, 100%.
Blake Johnson, 7 News.
A lone thief has pulled off a brazen heist, taking hostages and stealing $4 million worth of jewels. Those exclusive details next. Food for thought, what skipping breakfast is doing to our kids' brains. And the future King of England embarks on a new mission.
The most significant weather event in a lifetime.
Cyclone Alfred is moving at twice this speed.
Cyclone Alfred's march towards millions in the southeast. 7 News will be live. Our team of reporters from Bribie to the border and trust Tony Auden for up-to-the-minute forecasts. Special coverage on 7 News.
Hello, tech titans would be hit with a 3% digital services tax under a proposal from the Greens to force foreign multinationals to pay their fair share down under. Board members could face 10-year term limits as APRA hits banks, insurers and super funds with new rules. And the South African owners of Country Road say Australia is in a retail recession as it reported a 16% slump in sales. On the markets, energy stocks pushed the ASX 200 to its lowest level since December. Meanwhile, the Australian dollar rallied above 63 US cents, supported by a surge in the euro. And petrol could get cheaper with the oil price hitting a 3-year low. Brent crude slipping below $70 US a barrel.
Thanks, Amelia. The Catholic Church has begun its holiest period without its leader, with Pope Francis's medical condition remaining very complex. In an exclusive interview, Sydney's Archbishop Anthony Fisher says the ordeal has filled the Vatican with anxiety.
All the different officials don't know what the future is. Who will be Pope in a month from now or a year from now. You pick up the anxiety and the uncertainty in the air here.
The Pontiff has now been struggling to overcome double pneumonia over the past 3 weeks. A thief has held up 2 hostages at gunpoint before making off with $4 million worth of jewellery from a vault in Sydney. Workers tried to lock the man inside. He escaped but didn't get much further.
Walking down Parramatta Road in peak hour and inside his bag, $4 million worth of stolen diamond jewellery. This was the moment terrified workers and witnesses ran and hid.
The man was gone, just had to break in.
After the thief somehow got inside a secure jewellery warehouse at Summer Hill yesterday.
The people walk in so scared that there was a lady almost crying.
He took 2 hostages with him to gain access to the vault. Quick-thinking staff decided to shut the door.
He escaped by dismantling the vault door from the inside, casually strolling through traffic as police pulled up. 47-year-old Arthur Uwasi arrested, a replica pistol and his multi-million-dollar loot recovered.
I take my hat off to the police that attended. Their incredible bravery to approach someone that they know was carrying a firearm, albeit a replica firearm.
Police say Uwasi hasn't cooperated or answered detectives' questions since his arrest. He chose to stay in the cells for his court case today and made no application for bail. Police and the warehouse now looking into how he was able to get in. Andrew Denny, 7 News.
Australian tennis legend Fred Stolle has died. The 86-year-old is being remembered as an iconic figure in the sport. He won singles titles at the French Open in 1965 and US Open in 1966. After his playing career, he was a popular voice in the commentary box at events around the world. Aussie researchers have proven breakfast really is the most important meal of the day. Doctors have found a link between poor NAPLAN results and an empty stomach.
It's no secret just how important a nutritious breakfast can be, but around 10% of kids aren't having it. A worrying trend researchers say is having a noticeable impact in the classroom.
We found that those kids who skipped breakfast every day were much more likely to have poor NAPLAN results.
If they haven't eaten breakfast, definitely the mood is lower, or they're cranky, they have less energy.
The Kids Research Institute Australia examined the eating habits of almost 30,000 students with the results of their NAPLAN.
A lot of the research that's looked at breakfast skipping and school outcomes has looked at school grades, and there can be a lot of variation in school grades across different teachers and different schools. NAPLAN's great because it's consistent.
Mum Ali Foster says while she tries her best, getting kids to eat their breakfast isn't easy.
Morning's definitely chaos. We do try and start with breakfast. You can put it on the table, which doesn't mean they'll necessarily eat it. Normally they'll sit down and they'll think about that overdue library book or something can run off.
Some people just aren't hungry in the morning. It's the same with adults. What I really recommend is that parents and carers try and pack a substantial morning tea.
While this study didn't look at the reasons behind eating habits, researchers suspect the cost of living is impacting the ability of some families to put food on the table. Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
Prince William has paid a visit to the Royal Berkshire Hospital where his wife, Princess Kate, was born in 1982. The heir to the throne met current and former staff who worked on the front line during the COVID pandemic, speaking of the need for enforced career breaks for those suffering from burnout. Cyclone Alfred's landfall is looming tonight. The practical ways Queenslanders are preparing their homes. And we have some advice on how to talk to your kids about the cyclone. Those important reports are coming up soon on this special edition of 7 News. But time for sport now. Alissa, Wayne Bennett has made a shock statement.
Yeah, backing the NRL's call to play on Katrina. Hello, everyone. Both coaches' reactions to the relocation drama due to Cyclone Alfred. And changing of the guard. Our very own Broncos enforcer Shane Webke sits down with their latest number 8 ahead of their season opener.
Queensland is on high alert, bracing for disaster as Cyclone Alfred approaches landfall. 7 News will remain live on air, keeping you up to date with minute-by-minute coverage, with all the latest warnings and preparations you need to know, and a full breakdown on 7 News at 6.
Good evening. We have some breaking news in sport as the Brisbane Broncos prepare to take to the field at Allianz Stadium in Sydney for their season opener against the Roosters. I can reveal a chartered plane is preparing to fly players and staff home to their families immediately after their season opener. With major airlines cancelling their flights into Brisbane Airport, the Broncos will land at an alternate airport close to home. The club has cancelled post-match interviews from taking place in order to get them out quickly and safely. As for the game, physically, they will be up to the test under new coach Michael Maguire. But Alissa Abs, mentally, this could pose a challenge.
Well, Alissa, having seen Michael Maguire train the Blues in Origin camp, there's no doubt he will have the Broncos physically ready to go for this game. But of course, mentally, no doubt lurking in the back of their minds is Cyclone Alfred. Hopefully they will be able to put that to the back of their minds for this game. Now, as for the Roosters, I don't think I can remember a time where they were called underdogs, but they have been all pre-season, and that's because of the experience that they lost at the end of last season. Now, ahead of this game, a legend enforcer sat down with the man who has his number 8 now, Patrick Carrigan.
I was blessed to have Wayne Bennett my whole career, but the bloke beside me hasn't been so lucky. 3 coaches in 6 years.
You know, Kevy being deposed and now Mads comes in. Mate, what's the general feel at the joint?
He's brought a culture of hard work that's always been a part of this place and probably just re-earthed it a bit.
If you had to look back at last year and sort of say to yourself, well, okay, we're going to have to be better at this year, what would it be?
Probably just defensively. I think we've had a big focus on that this pre-season. 2 years ago when we made the GF, we might have been the best attacking team, but even on that day, the best defensive team won. The boys know that if we want to wear this jersey we've got to work hard.
And Paddy's looking pretty good in my old jersey.
You've got what I would call a promotion. You're moving into the front row. Congratulations.
Thanks, mate.
Dare I say, I did not have your athletic prowess, so I had to play in the front row, but you're good enough. You can play in multiple positions. But, mate, what are you thinking about that little transition?
Got a few big names to live up to, mate, that wore the 8 here. So
it's a great honour, mate.
It is.
Looking at the forward pack this year, I'd love to have played it, mate. It's nice. It's good, and it's got the right mix of stuff.
I'm just kind of going to do my role and keep playing the way I did. I'm excited to play up front with Payno. And
he astounds me, mate. Like, he's 5 times Player of the Year here, but also his circumstances that he's dealing with on a personal level. Mate, you must admire him for what he produces.
He's probably one of my best mates, and just the quality of person he is off the field, and the role model he is for his family, and what he does for them, but then also to rock up here every day with a smile and be the first one to help younger boys out. Yeah, 5-time Player of the Year. He's probably got a few more to come, to be honest, exactly. The big guy. But, mate, he's just a special person.
Mate, something I've been dying to ask you for a long time, and now that you're entering the front rowers club, I'm allowed to ask.
Yeah.
The hair, mate. I mean,
have I got to
it's a beautiful thing.
Have I got to get rid of it now?
Well, I think you do, mate. Because what you are is you're like an Adonis.
If I'm going to have to live up to your standards, mate, I might have to go skinhead. So yeah. I think we might have a ceremonial shave off or something.
I'd like to see it, mate. I'd like to be there for it. Anyway, mate, good luck for the season ahead. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.
Thanks, mate.
Shane Webke, 7 News.
How good. Well, despite the Dolphins' relocation drama for their Bunnies clash, former coach Wayne Bennett has backed the NRL's decision to move tomorrow's match from Suncorp to Sydney. Dolphins debutant coach Christian Wolf also supports the move, despite being forced into making late changes.
After a hectic 48 hours, the Dolphins that made the trip to Sydney in good spirits.
They've done that knowing that they've set things up back at their house as best they can to make sure that their families are really safe.
Those remaining behind, Cody Nikorima, Mark Nichols and Kenny Bromwich, far from crying wolf with the cyclone bearing down.
They've certainly got my support. They've got the club's full support.
Sean O'Sullivan comes into number 7, forward Josh Kerr onto the bench. Their former mentor, all smiles, agreeing with the NRL's quick decision to move the match from Brisbane to Sydney. He's not expecting anything less from the Dolphins than what he'd expect.
A wonderful club. I was really proud of my time there with them, and they'll do their best.
Bennett's named former Dolphin, Rockhampton's Lachlan Hubner, to make his Rabbitohs debut. But the most pressure is clearly on South's new number 7, Jamie Humphreys, the Manly recruit's second NRL game.
I'm just expecting him to do his best. I don't ask him for any more than that.
While Cody Walker will take the reins with no Latrell or Cam Murray, Bennett's new men are vulnerable. The debutant captain and NRL coach, quietly confident pre-season, has given them a platform to pounce.
We've worked hard. We've changed a couple of things. They've bought into all of that. They've bought into hard work first and foremost. There's a real desire in this group to want to try and achieve something together.
Kieran Tui, 7 News.
The AFL has confirmed the Lions and Cats postponed season opener has been rescheduled for round 3. The Saturday, March 29th date at the Gabba, an easy fit with both teams originally having a bye. The Gold Coast Suns and Essendon clash has been moved to the final round of the regular season, but the date and time is yet to be confirmed. Both sides face playing twice within a week. Osman Khawaja has made a welcome return for the Bulls in Tassie, the test opener posting 127, his 43rd first-class century.
And that'll be the 100. Not his most convincing shot of the day, but they all count in the scorebook.
Returning for the match, Matthew Kuhneman from that bowling action fiasco. The Bulls 6 for 309 at stumps. Katrina, plenty of drama, plenty of action in sport happening with Cyclone Alfred nearing, that's for sure.
Oh, it's bringing all the drama. Thank you, Alissa. Well, stay with us as we bring you every development on Cyclone Alfred. Ahead, the sensible things you can do right now to protect your home from harm. It is not too late.
And after a slow start, it still looks to be a dangerous few days ahead for the southeast. I'll have the forecast and latest warnings next.
Queensland is on high alert, bracing for disaster as Cyclone Alfred approaches landfall. 7 News will remain live on air, keeping you up to date with minute-by-minute coverage, with all the latest warnings and preparations you need to know, and a full breakdown on 7 News at 6.
Welcome back to Surfers Paradise. As Cyclone Alfred moves closer to our coast, this is what we know right now. The system is expected to cross the coast Friday night or Saturday morning, most likely between Noosa and Coolangatta. Sand filling stations, which reopened this morning, close in an hour and they won't reopen tomorrow. Commercial airlines have suspended flights from Brisbane Airport from 4 p.m. today. The Gold Coast Airport is also now closed. Emergency evacuation warnings are in place in northern New South Wales, with a major effort to get everyone out of Lismore. Well, from window protection to sandbag substitute, tonight we can show you some of the practical ways Queenslanders are cyclone preparing their homes. Calls to arborists are in overdrive, and there's a warning to hundreds of thousands with solar panels.
No school today. Just a lesson in cyclone preparedness at the Webbers.
Worst comes to worst, we'll probably go into our walk-in wardrobe. We're no stranger to chaos here.
But this is an unusual bath and book time routine.
Birdie and the cyclone. We're a little bit nervous, shifting time frames, but we're feeling like we've done everything that we can.
I think the waiting's the hardest bit.
Craig Udy has tarped his balcony from top to bottom. Added protection from the howling winds, and he's using bags of potting mix to hold back the rain.
So you didn't have to line up for sandbags?
No, there was piles and piles and piles of soil there.
Switching off his solar panel system, the last tick on his to-do list. Energy bosses are advising hundreds of thousands of homeowners to do the same.
It's just in case you get roof damage, and you get roof damage and you decamp from your premises, you don't want that, that potentially live.
This is what your windows may look like under the pressure of a cyclone.
It acts to suck and push that water in through those weep holes that we have there for condensation.
Experts say taping a garbage bag on the inside windowsill can help.
We're capturing whatever we can of that water.
The most common misconception?
If we tape up our windows, it's not there to make it stronger.
Advice Yoronga Cafe owner Arthur Lynn is fully aware of.
Even though it breaks, we just try to get the glass shards don't go everywhere.
Dumps are now closed. The window for prepping gardens is too. Arborists have been overrun with too many calls to answer, let alone respond to.
It's exhausting. I'm so exhausted. The boys are exhausted. We're just so buggered.
This job wasn't on the list. Shifts had finished, the team had gone home. But with a towering gum so close to a property, they kitted up one last time to help one last customer. The waiting game has begun. It's game on, Alfred. Michelle Jensen, 7 News.
Some handy advice there. Weather time now, Tony. After a slow start, Alfred is still looking dangerous.
Yes, Max, and the only thing that could be more dangerous than a severe cyclone is a slow-moving cyclone, and that looks more and more to be the case now with the latest guidance. We'll start with the beginning. At the moment, Alfred is 210 kilometres away from the coast, still a weak Category 2 system. We've seen squally showers along the coast through the course of the day, then calm periods in between. It's been a bit of a slow start, but we do have this big blob of rain building on the radar offshore and also over northern New South Wales, approaching the coast. Onto the forecast track, slow movement towards the Bay Islands or Gold Coast tomorrow, then a really nasty stall expected, a bit of a shift north through the course of Friday, then eventually ambling back towards inland areas on Saturday. You could see it weaken to Category 1 by reaching the mainland, but that doesn't really matter now. We're expecting widespread impacts no matter what the category is through that region. Now, on to the cyclone warning. That hasn't changed, still running from the Sunshine Coast south down to Grafton in New South Wales. We have a host of other warnings, including coastal hazards warning and severe weather warning. Intense rainfall, destructive winds right across a huge swathe of the area here and also inland to the ranges as well. Now, on to the rain forecast, and this is very concerning. Rain developing on the southern side tonight, especially Gold Coast. through Brisbane through the course of tomorrow and the rest of the southeast, then continuing after landfall with these convergent rain bands, hopefully eventually easing by late Sunday. In that time, forecast models are starting to shift that peak. This is the latest from the European EC model. It is just one possible forecast scenario painting well over 500 millimetres across southern parts of the southeast. If this band here were to come off, a lot of that is falling in the Wivenhoe catchment, so we do need to keep a very close eye on this in coming days. These patterns will change, but it's giving us a rough idea for now. Now, onto the other impacts. Waves are still large. They'll start to ease slightly, but that's from 8 to 9 metres back to 6 or 7 metres for a few days. Large waves persisting on the beaches into the weekend and gradually easing. We'll probably have a fair bit of flood water on the beaches too, so I don't think anyone should be going in the water for quite some time. Wind-wise, you're already seeing damaging wind gusts across the southeast. We could see some stronger destructive gusts in this pink zone through the course of the next few days. The risk of really, really strong wind is starting to drop a bit, but we could see some small pockets of that nasty stuff. Now, on to some forecasts. Northern Queensland, once again, fairly quiet. A little bit more cloud returning. 32 degrees in Mackay and Townsville, 23 up to 33 in Cairns. Heading south, again on the edge of the cyclone here, so some pretty breezy and wet conditions also extending up towards Hervey Bay, Bundaberg and down along the ranges, a top of 24 in Toowoomba. For the southeast, once again, cyclone icons right across the board. That mix of rain, wind, waves, and we do need to keep an eye on the storm surge as well. Looking ahead, those cyclonic conditions could last into Saturday, heavy rain through Sunday, then easing back to showers eventually. But then, Katrina, I think we'll have a pretty decent clean-up, whatever form Alfred takes in the next few days.
All right, thank you, Tony. Well, coming up in this special extended edition of 7 News, we have a chat with Premier David Crisafulli, his last update of the evening. And how do you talk to your kids about a cyclone? We've got important advice for Queensland parents. Stay with us here on 7, plenty more after the break.
Welcome back to 7 News. Well, the Premier has just had another update at Emergency HQ at Kedron. David Crisafulli joins us now live. Premier, what is the very latest?
The latest, Max, is it remains a Category 2 and it has resumed moving towards the coast. So you're at the Gold Coast, you're starting to see the surf pick up and you're starting to see those winds. In some capacity, whether it's wind or wave or rain or eventually flooding, everyone is going to experience some impact, which is why the work of the community and indeed all of our agencies over the last few days has really been paramount. And I know today the fact that it slowed overnight and looped around on itself before coming back in, I know that was a little frustrating and apprehensive for people, but I saw the way that people took that extra time to do the little things. And I want Queenslanders to know we've taken it seriously. We've pre-positioned generators and staff. We've got over 1,000 electricity staff waiting to go and reconnect from Energex. So we're taking it seriously, and overwhelming so too have people. And I've got every faith that Queenslanders will get through it.
Well, Premier, we've seen a lot of people out today, especially at the beaches along the dune tops, watching this spectacle that Alfred is creating. What is your message for tomorrow as this weather deteriorates?
Look, I just really want people to be safe, and we haven't taken the blanket approach of saying we're going to close roads, because ultimately we want emergency services and essential workers to be able to serve the community. And my view is I just want to give people the information, and the vast majority of people will make the right choices, and we are seeing that. Yes, there's been some people who have made silly decisions, but overwhelmingly the way that people have responded, it makes you proud to be a Queenslander. People have realised the challenge, but increasingly they're stepping up, and the way that we see neighbours helping neighbours, it has brought out the best in many people. And look, provided you have a plan, provided you listen to advice, if your home is in the flood zone or that storm surge, make provisions, have a plan. If you're not, which is the majority of people, the safest place is in your home. Just get all those little things right, and overwhelmingly, people will get through this.
We've seen Alfred slow down in the past 24 hours. Is a slower moving cyclone, a slower moving system, actually a worse scenario in some ways?
Ultimately, Max, the first challenge will be the winds, the high winds. We've just recorded a wind gust of around about 100 kilometres on one of the islands, so it it is packing a punch. But you're right, ultimately, these systems, it's often the rain that comes after the wind that can be the greatest challenge. And when you combine the prospect of storm tide, for those lower lying areas, with those heavy rainfalls, absolutely, there can be challenges with that. But again, if we all do the preparation, what that does is it enables us to go from response to recovery. If more people continue to do the things they're doing, this will be an opportunity for us to pick up the community, lift, and then move that into the recovery stage, as we are seeing in the other end of the state. And it is proof that Queenslanders are resilient. Mother Nature has thrown us a challenge from North Queensland to the southeast, but people will rise to the challenge, and we're seeing lots of it.
A speedy recovery would be good. All right, Premier David Crisafulli, thanks very much for the update.
Thanks a lot, Max.
Well, as Cyclone Alfred creeps closer, new flood mapping has been released for Brisbane. Marlena Wapp is at Cleveland for us tonight. Marlena, hundreds more homes are now under threat.
Yeah, that's right, Max. Tens of thousands of homes were already on that list that Brisbane City Council had put out about the storm surge risk, and now hundreds of more homes have been added. So as the system changes, the flood modelling is changing. So the areas most at risk include Brighton, Windsor, Ashgrove, Morningside, Rockley, Coopers Plains, Wynnum West, Sandgate, Katrina, Hemmant, Lota, Tingalpa, Indooroopilly, Albion and Barden. So a long list there, but the message to everyone is to be prepared no matter where you live in southeast Queensland. We've been catching up with people here at Cleveland Point near the Lighthouse Cafe, and joining me now is Josh Honeycomb. You live at the Raby Bay Canals. What kind of preparation have you been doing there? Because I understand police have been there to door knock the homes there, Josh.
Yeah, that's right. We had a couple of police officers join us yesterday just to check in and make sure that residents are aware that there is a cyclone obviously on the way and that everybody is checking on each other, as it is really important to look after those that are a bit more vulnerable in the community, like older residents and so forth. But it is really good to see emergency services out checking on people. As far as preparations that my family have done, we've made sure we've got enough water, some spare batteries for torches, and as we're in a relatively lie-lowing area, we've ensured some sandbagging as well.
Yeah, okay. I mean, everyone's been going for those sandbags, haven't they? But the storm surge risk, has there been much of that in the past through different weather events here, and what have you experienced?
Yeah, look, great question. And as far as I've experienced in my short time on this planet, we haven't seen anything like that before in this part of Brisbane before. Speaking to neighbours across the road, they've been there for over 20 years and haven't experienced anything of any level of catastrophe before. So hopes are that things won't be too bad, but like they say, it is better to prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Okay, Josh Honeycomb, we'll let you get home. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. So a lot of people are coming out tonight to look around here, but certainly going home to do their final preparations and be with their family. Katrina?
That's great news. Marlena Wapp, thanks for that live report from Cleveland. Stay with us in this special edition of 7 News. We hear from our meteorologist Tony Auden again, and a warning on Alfred's dangerous winds. Chris Reason shows us just how powerful they'll be.
The most significant weather event in a lifetime.
Cyclone Alfred is moving at twice this speed.
Cyclone Alfred's march towards millions in the southeast. 7 News will be live. Our team of reporters from Bribie to the border, and trust Tony Auden for up-to-the-minute forecasts. Special coverage on 7 News.
Welcome back to this special edition of 7 News. Here are the top things to know about Cyclone Alfred tonight. Right now, we're expecting the system to reach the coast on Friday night or Saturday morning, heading towards the space between Noosa and Coolangatta. No flights are coming in or out of Brisbane and Gold Coast airports. Sand filling stations close in 1 hour and they won't reopen tomorrow. Plus, in northern New South Wales, an emergency evacuation warning is in place for Lismore, with a rush now on to get everyone out.
Thanks, Max. Well, authorities are warning that just because Alfred has slowed and isn't a Category 5, it is still carrying potentially lethal winds. At Sydney University's Civil Engineering School, they've recreated cyclonic conditions with this boundary layer wind tunnel. Our reporter Chris Reason demonstrates.
20 metres long, 2 metres wide, and right now it's generating wind at 20 kilometres an hour. But look what happens when we take that wind speed up to the very lowest official level of a Category 1 cyclone, 63 kilometres an hour. I'm having to raise my voice, lean into the wind, and watch this. Walking into it becomes almost impossible. Now, Cyclone Alfred is moving at twice this speed, 130 kilometres an hour. And add to that the dangers of debris. This is hardened foam. Even at this speed, it becomes weaponised.
Wow. Well, for days now, millions of southeast Queenslanders have been busy preparing for Cyclone Alfred with anxious children watching on. So how do you talk to them about the event? Well, our reporter Samantha Heathwood explains.
Most kids in southeast Queensland have never experienced a cyclone, and many are frightened about what to expect. Child psychologists say the best thing to do is talk to kids and ask them what they think a cyclone is, as that could be far worse than what will actually come. A family meeting can help too, where the household disaster plan is discussed and kids can feel prepared. Some might benefit from having a role in the plan, like filling water bottles, for instance, or making sure all the windows are shut. Warn kids about the prolonged ferocious winds, loud noises and torrential rain, so when they experience it, you can remind them it was what you're expecting. Distractions like playing a game or listening to music can help too. There are plenty of online resources as well as children's books to explain cyclones. And remember, as hard as it is when you're anxious, it's important to stay calm and in control.
Samantha Heathwood there. Now, before we wrap up our special coverage of Cyclone Alfred tonight, let's get the very latest on what we can expect. It's over to you, Tony.
Thank you, Katrina. Good evening again, everybody. We are in for a wild ride over the course of the next few days. Cyclone Alfred has had a slow start today, but it does look like we'll have some very serious conditions on the way. For now, Category 2, sitting just over 200 kilometres off the coast, we do have some squally showers over land and a big blob of rain starting to really build on the radar. Moving ahead, expect that rain to really develop over the Gold Coast and northern New South Wales overnight, continuing across the southeast both tomorrow, with Alfred expected to stall on the coast, and some really heavy rain is possible after a likely move inland into Saturday and Sunday. Hopefully that rain should ease by late Sunday, but in that time we are looking at very heavy rain, several hundred millimetres. Some of the latest models, this is only one forecast scenario, are painting several hundred millimetres as far north as Brisbane and the Moreton Bay region. That does bring some of those bigger catchments, including Brisbane River, into play for potential major flooding. At the moment, we do have a flood watch current right across the southeast, including further north towards the Mary River as well. We also can't afford to forget the other forms of severe weather. We're also watching high tides for a potential storm surge. The Saturday morning high tide at 3:39 a.m. is my main other concern, depending on the movement and intensity of Cyclone Alfred. So, Katrina, so many forms of severe weather on the way over the next few days. My main concern is the rain, but we can't forget everything that's happening and going to be on the way.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that, Tony. Now, before I say goodbye, stay around because we are continuing our special Cyclone Alfred coverage. Our reporters are standing by as this emergency unfolds. Good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want. Download now.